Welcome to our video tour of Gantry Plaza State Park. I'm Casey Chamberlain, the director of the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Tom Balsley, the lead designer at SWA Balsley and the designer of this beautiful park we're going to be talking about today. Gantry Plaza State Park originally opened to the public in 1998, and it's actually one of only 8 state parks in New York City. It's one of many unique features we're going to be talking about today. Around that time, 1998, is when our organization was founded, back then known as Friends of Gantry Plaza State Park. And in 2014, shortly after the opening of nearby Hunters Point South Park, we became the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy and expanded to work in both parks. We assist the New York City and New York State Parks Department by bringing in volunteers to do lots of park maintenance work, doing lots of free events in the community. If you want to know more about our work, you can check us out online, www.hunterspointparks.org. But enough about us. We're here today to talk about the park and the design. So that's why I'm thrilled to be joined by Tom Balsley here. So Tom, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in this project in particular.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be here.
Of course.
And thank you for shedding a little more light on Gantry Plaza State Park. It really deserves it. I'm from upstate New York, a son of a farmer, went to school at Syracuse to get a degree in landscape architecture and environmental science, and knew when I was there, or even before, that I was going to end up in New York because I was really sort of a city boy at heart, and I wanted to really see how I could bring landscape architecture to the task of enhancing the quality of life and the environment in the city in general, and that, of course, involves the whole city and all the boroughs. So that was my mission, and so over the course of time, I became sort of an expert at waterfronts. And I was asked to submit a proposal for this waterfront that was at the time called Queens West. It stretched all the way from Newtown Creek all the way to Annabelle Basin. It was quite a commission. Yeah. And I joined hands with another firm called Weintraub G. Domenico, and we were awarded the contract. And sort of the rest is history. But the master plan called for all of these designs as you see them now. There might have been a few little iterations. There was a moment in time, you may remember, when we were going to have the Olympics in New York, and that was going to be the the Olympic Village. But those are just small little blips along the way. We all knew what this was going to end up with as a beautiful community celebrating its water.
Now we have this 2 different parks, technically, but this long extended park.
Yeah.
But it was a long time coming, right? So you said this built in phases. Could you tell us a little bit about the phases and when was which one?
Well, the master plan was completed started in 1993 and immediately led to the first phase, which is Gantry Plaza State Park as we knew it. And that really consists of, it's sort of there's a trilogy to this park, that, at least according to the designers. There's the peninsula, there's the plaza, and then there's the interpretive garden that interprets the railroad history that was once here and is really a big part of this park. And that phase also included the Hunters Point Community Park, which is the linear park that goes up to Vernon Boulevard. That was the first phase, and the second phase was to continue this park further north, up past the Pepsi sign, all the way to the Annabelle Basin. And then later on, in about, I guess, 2008 or 9, is when Hunters Point South Park started, and it was finished about 3 or 4 years ago.
I do want to just touch on the Gantrys.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about them and sort of how you integrated them in the design there.
It's interesting to know the whole context here. Yeah. At the time, the city and the Port Authority were thinking about this park and this development. They were kind of saying, why don't we be just like Battery Park City? Because at the time, Battery Park City was the big success story. But Battery Park City was a landfill park. They started with a plan to fill land all the way out to the pier line. Wow. There were plans drawn to that effect. Eventually, it was all pulled back. And that really made it better for us as designers to really celebrate this diverse shoreline. Anyone visiting the park, it's much more exciting to be able to walk out to the piers and the coves as opposed to just along the edge of a bulkhead line. So these Gantrys are all part of that kind of thinking, which was to celebrate the history, celebrate the heritage of the site, the heritage of the railroad workers, And so we saw the gantries as just something precious to the kind of the design narrative that everyone would experience as they come into the park. Now, some real estate developers commented, you got to take those things down. But of course, we weren't gonna let that happen. In fact, $1.5 million were spent really restoring them into a stable, really celebratory structure. To me, this is better than any sculpture that we could have ever brought out onto this site. So the story of the gantries is we wanted to celebrate the history of what took place here. And most people don't understand how important these gantries were to the whole development of Long Island and Long Island City and Queens, because they really were this place where rail cars came and connected to rail barges, then were brought back over to New Jersey, back on land, and went off to Minnesota. And it was the way we connected ourselves with the rest of the country.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to our next stop in the park. We just walked a few minutes north in Gantry Plaza State Park. We're now sitting here in a very popular spot to sit. These are red Adirondack chairs purchased by Hunters Point Parks Conservancy with some funding from Parks and Trails New York. So another nice place to sit and enjoy some sunshine. We're also in front of one of the more popular and busy lawns in Gantry Plaza State Park, where the community comes and hangs out. You'll have little parties, people playing soccer around here. And we're sitting in a big planting bed that's usually planted with grasses. And you can see a few more tulips and daffodils that are still in bloom that the Conservancy and our volunteers have planted over the years. Over the last 5 years at our LIC Bulb Fest events in the fall, we've planted over 30,000 bulbs in both these parks with the help of our great community volunteers. So that brings me to my question about the community and its involvement in this park. So Tom, can you walk us through a little bit about how you and the design team integrated community input and voices in the design of this park?
A very important part of our work is having a real dialogue with the community. That's the only way we can really produce a park that's going to be sustainable and successful in those terms. And so in 1993, this was simply pretty much a blue-collar community that, of course, wanted to talk about parks, but they also had a certain amount of skepticism about the towers that would come with them and maybe the gentrification that was associated with that. So we used the borough president's office as a go-between for ourselves to have those dialogues. And that was very, very helpful because we were able to connect with them and get from them that information we needed to create a design that was really going to resonate with them over time. And that's always been a very important platform of all the design work of all the phases of the park, including this one. And it's a platform of our work in all of the public open space that we do. And it happened here, and I think you can really see the results.
Used and very well loved park, and so I think some of those, I'm sure those conversations helped design a park that people want to be in.
Along the way, when we did the first phase of Gantry Plaza State Park, the formation of the Friends of Gantry Plaza State Park was sort of testimony to that. Mm-hmm. We've often referred to Gantry Plaza State Park and the North as well as sort of the healing ground that really proved that you can have a pre-existing community have new communities and new buildings come into it, and they can find that common ground with each other.
Yeah. And
the park is the perfect place for that to happen. So
certainly
we're very proud of parks in that regard, that they can really bring communities together in that way.
Certainly. Another key aspect, I guess, of where we are now in particular is where we're sitting in these other wonderful lounge chairs that you put in.
Yes.
Is it really encapsulates, has like the perfect sort of New York City skyline view.
Yeah.
Of course, we're sitting directly across from the UN building there. You can see the Chrysler, the Empire State Building, but I think another thing, you can also see some other sort of skyline moments that you might not see in other places on the waterfront. Like my favorite is the Queensborough Bridge. You also can see FDR Four Freedoms Park in Roosevelt Island. And from other spots, you can also see the Williamsburg Bridge. So I'm sure that was kind of part of the design in a way. Like, how much did you think about like the integration of Manhattan skyline views in this design process?
Well, let me first say that you can't come out to this site and ignore the views of this skyline. This skyline is on you. I want to bring to your attention the New York Times article on the Gantry Plaza State Park that the art and architecture critic wrote, like a full-page article of the park. And within that article, he made reference to, and I know because I was on the tour with him when he did the whole write-up, and he came out here. I could hardly get him to focus on any of the things that we had designed because all he did was he kept staring at the skyline. And in the end, he kind of wrapped it up as only a writer like that could do. He wrapped it up and he said, "It's this intimate immensity that I feel." And you do feel an intimate immensity as you go up and down this park. The immensity is always there with you, but we have given you these moments of, and these niches of intimacy that go with that. And that's a very rare occasion when you can have both of those things. So as I'm in this park, I'm just thinking about the views.
So we're here in front of the iconic Pepsi Cola sign, one of the things that, again, this park is really known for, probably particularly for people who don't live in the neighborhood. People across the way or coming over the bridge, they know the Pepsi Cola sign, of course. Yeah, why is this here?
It just came to be.
Yeah.
It just landed here one night. Well, you know, going back to what I said about the heritage of this place, when we design, we want to uncover the heritage. Mm-hmm. And a lot happened out on this piece of land that we're standing on. It might have not even been here. The river might have been here long ago. But, you know, in the more recent history, it was a bottling plant for Pepsi Cola. This whole block here was all Pepsi Cola bottling plants, and there are historic photos to that effect. Mm-hmm. And we thought that's an important history too. Yeah. And so as we were, at the same time we were preserving the history with the Gantrys and the railroad history, we thought this should be preserved as well. So we advocated very strongly to preserve the sign because we thought it was iconic, not because we liked Pepsi Cola, but because we thought it was iconic about this place as a place. And so it had to be moved, and I think there was a video taken or made for that event. But it's pretty exciting that this sign is out here because it's right across from the UN, which really means the whole world knows where this place is.
Hi, I'm Rob Bash, and I'm president of the Hunters Point Parks Conservancy. And I hope you'd enjoy this beautiful film of our wonderful park. And I wanted to thank Tom Balsley, our architect, who has done so much for the parks. Someone like myself, who while I'm president of the park, I'm also a longtime resident of Long Island City. So I get to enjoy this park on a daily basis. So we're really grateful and thankful we had this there. And thank you so much for doing this film. And thank you so much for designing this beautiful place.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I can't tell you what a pleasure it has been since 1993, from the moment I came out on this site to just imagine it being what it is today. Is very satisfying for a designer to see this kind of response from the community. And I think I was speaking a little bit earlier about why is this place so special. I'd like to think that sometimes there are just parks that have long linear benches in them, and that's about it. You sit in the park, and that's sort of the limit. We tried very hard here to make sure that this park resonated with the community. Not only the upland community, but also all the new residents that would come here. And as you've seen in the video, and if you will see if you come and visit the park, as you move along, you find all kinds of little interesting stops that we've sort of compelled you to explore and experience, each one of them on a different level of intimacy and scale. And that's what we think all adds up to a very special place where people can meet each other and then connect themselves with the river and this fantastic skyline.
I know, the park has certainly stood the test of time. I mean, 23 years, and it's as beautiful as ever. So thankful for that. And if anyone is watching this film who has not been to Gantry Plaza State Park, come on out, because you'll have a great time.